Hey, we're talking about toys. Up next on Geek Out SA. And we're back. Finally got on, and we're actually streaming live because our stupid stream deck, is not working for some reason. So we're gonna figure what that's all about, hopefully soon. But now we're back and we're good to go.
We're gonna take all the technology and drown it in a lake.
We're talking about toys today, and specifically toys back in our childhood.
Which was a really long time
Which
ago.
is a really long time. If you saw the whatchamacallit,
the video
thumbnail,
all about us?
the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Oh, the thumbnail. I was like...
You should see a lot of the toys that I had and also Colleen had as well.
Okay, these are toys that I had past tense because I let my brother use them for his kids. And I called him this week because I wanted to show them off on the show and I was all excited. And he thinks he may have accidentally given them away. Accidentally gave away He-Man, G.I. Joe, and Strawberry Shortcake. He-Man, G.I. Joe, and Strawberry Shortcake. Gave them away. I'm just saying. So, Clark, if you're watching, I hate you. I mean, you suck. Go bite one.
So thanks for sticking with us, and we're finally here. It's fun, and we have Stuart here, which is usually behind the camera.
Yeah, I don't like this. I want to be over there.
Yeah, he's like, can I go back there?
Yeah.
Put Nick back over here, and he can just talk for me.
That's right.
I'll just feed him stuff in his ear. That's what we need next. Is for Vince to buy.
No,
we're just
stop.
Vince to buy more stuff.
More technology can go wrong.
Any more mics?
No.
No.
We're good with what we've got. Once we've got that all figured out, then
we just need to We just need to get that one cable fixed. That's it.
And now the Stream Deck.
Yeah,
and now the Stream
Deck.
And
OBS.
And OBS.
And then the computer shuts down.
No, we fixed that.
And
I fixed
takes
that
updates.
last week. No, we're good with that.
Are we sure?
The computer is fine. It's working solid now.
Yeah.
You better knock on that desk or something.
I took all the updates that it needed, so it's working. But we're talking about toys today. So one of the toys that I grew up with are G.I. Joes. Used to play with the little action figure
I didn't know you played
Joes.
G.I. Joes.
Yeah, I did.
I thought you were a Star Wars guy.
I was a Star Wars guy, too.
G.I. Joes? Did you play G.I. Joe? Or you played with the bigger G.I. Joe?
No,
not really a thing?
G.I. Joe wasn't really a big thing in Australia. We had G.I. Joe for a very short period of time. Our G.I. Joe is called Action Man.
Action Man?
Action Man.
And that makes sense. G.I. Joe would be here in the States. G.I. Joe, that's a thing. We actually kind of came up with the idea of talking about this because Stuart got us to watch this show on Netflix, right? It's on Netflix. Yeah. And it's called The Toys That Made Us. And G.I. Joe is one of the episodes that they have, so it talks about like the background stuff.
Yeah, they talk about the background stuff. They did Star Wars, Barbie, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Hello Kitty, Lego, and Star Trek.
Yep. And those are the ones they've done so far.
So far. And actually just yesterday they announced at Comic-Con they are doing a Series 3.
Oh, good.
They're doing wrestling, Power Rangers, My Little Pony, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I remember the boys
Blinky
had the...
23 says Hot Wheels, the metal ones that hurt when you get hit with them.
Yeah.
I remember those. Those were really cool. Which now they're real plasticky now.
No, they're still die casting.
Really?
Yeah. They use a little.
But are they as hard as they used to be?
Not.
They're a little bit thinner.
They're a little bit less crazy in the design.
Yeah.
So we decided to bring Stuart here because he runs. Did you mention that he runs Octane Toys?
No, we haven't gotten there yet.
No.
But he runs Octane Toys. So you came here from Australia, and you were selling toys there.
I was actually came in at the right time. I built my clientele up through online auctioning and stuff, and what I used to do was I used to import toys from the US and Japan, and this was before pre-internet days, so nobody knew how to get toys from the US or Japan, so I had like pen pals That's how old I am. And I would write down and say, hey, have you got G.I. Joes? And they say, yeah, have you got this? And I would send them stuff, and they would send me stuff, and we would do like an international swap. And during the birth of basically eBay and Yahoo auctions, I made a lot of money.
So you said pen pals, so you're writing.
Yeah, writing.
You're writing
letters.
Writing letters.
Put them in a mailbox.
We've gotten so used to it, we do the keyboard thing.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, I talked to such and such.
Yeah, no,
No, we would write it out. Yeah.
That's really dating my age.
Well, once I show off some of my toys here, it's going to really date my age, too. Because I brought toys. Vincent doesn't have any toys. I don't know what happened to your whole childhood. It's gone. Mine, though, is scattered about the house. So I showed the Smurfs before, but I have lots of toys to show off.
I have a lot of new toys.
You do have new toys. Mm-hmm. But you, like, tell me stories of toys that you had. Like, you had some of the big dog toys that, like...
Well, like, when I was talking about G.I. Joe, I had the... do you remember the Dragonfly? The Apache helicopter with that Wild Bill was in?
Yeah.
So that one was really cool because that was like before they were really doing like electric motorized stuff, and you would have a button that you would slide to make it spin, and then push it, and it would spin like that, which is really cool. And I wish I had kept it. I wish I kept a lot of my...
So what did you do with your toys?
I used to play with them.
Duh. Where are they now?
I have no idea.
Did you, like, sell them at a garage sale or something?
Maybe
like, I know where my toys are. My brother gave them away. But
maybe
what about
my
you,
mom
Stuart?
did?
Mine are all gone. Mine all got burnt up in a fire.
Oh, no.
In early 2000s. I moved over here and we had bushfires through my mother's area, and I had everything in storage units and they all went away.
Oh no, my God, I would be devastated.
Well, the good thing is, a lot of the stuff I used to collect, my brother and I used to collect Transformers religiously, and before I moved over here, him and I had a falling out, so it was like, sell it. So we sold them all. And I'm one of these people that when I collect the toy line, I collect the entire toy line, and then once I've got it all, it's like, I'm gonna get rid of it.
So it's more for you. It's more about the actual collection.
Yeah, and I've got more spoiled, and I don't do it as much now because back before the internet, you'd have to go to toy shops and comic conventions and word of mouth, and nowadays it's like if I want to collect something, it's like done. I've collected the whole line. So
yeah, it's not as fun.
If money's no option, there is no... I'm more about the chase and the trying to find stuff, but now you don't have to do that. You just get online and just type a few things and you've got it.
Well, so we didn't have, I always talk about how poor we were and stuff, so I didn't have money. So for me, it was more about, like, the storytelling and the playtime. For me, it was, like, the things that we could get. So these are some that I have that my brother doesn't know, and he doesn't care anyway. But I took them all. So I have a bunch of the Star Wars toys. So I have Jabba here, and his tail moves. And I have, like, Hammerhead and Princess Leia. And you can tell, like, by how faded they are and the paint is gone. I mean, I have a whole box of Star Wars toys. These are all... these are kind of... Some of these are newer. She doesn't have her jacket. Lando.
Her vinyl jacket.
It's my Ewok. Here, look at Han's head. This is, like, the one from... And some of these are newer. Like, Greedo, you can tell Greedo and Lando are newer. Because they have a different... See how they have, like, a different design? So you can tell how they went... Like, here's a newer Han. Yeah. See? So you can tell the difference. That Han is from... when the movie probably came out.
Yeah.
Because I was born in 1973. So these are all old. Because, like, Greedo... Look at poor Greedo. He's like...
Why is Greedo wearing a cape?
I don't know. He came with a cape.
No, he didn't come with a cape.
Oh, okay. Well, we put a cape on him, I guess.
Ben Obi-Wan Kenobi cape.
Yeah, that's Ben's cape.
So not only did Greedo shoot first, he stole Ben's cape.
Look, and we had the cool Ben where it had the lightsaber and you would push it.
Lightsaber.
And he just doesn't have a lightsaber.
No, it doesn't have a lightsaber anymore, but you would push this up and the little lightsaber would come out. They showed that on the toys that made us, and I was like, I remember that. But yeah, like, I have lots of toys. Look, Luke is bad.
Ooh, evil Luke.
Evil Luke.
Is it? Is it? Oh, it's evil Luke. Does he have it? Oh no, it's not one of the rare variations. It's not the brown tan variation with the short lightsaber in the long tray.
No.
That's. See, I used to collect all that junk.
Here's like an old Leia too. And then there's some new stuff in here, but I just got it. So yeah, I have a bunch of those. But we played with them. Like, we took them outside and we buried them. I had the Yoda that had the
cloth.
The cloth.
I had that Yoda.
I bet he's buried somewhere.
I had vinyl cape shower.
Yeah. I mean, we played with them. I didn't know.
And that one, the vinyl cape Jawa, that's the one.
That is the one.
Well,
is it now still?
Yeah, it still is. Here's a funny story. The Power of the Force figures, the last series that everybody goes crazy about in Australia, they were the most common ones because they were dumped in Australia.
Oh, really?
So for us, all the hard to find ones that you guys all salivate over, they were reasonably easy to find. And the story behind it is that several collectors back in the day went around and bought up everything they could, and they controlled the market for a very short time. Well, they still do, and they release toys every now and again. It's a big toy conspiracy, supposedly.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Ashley Huckle, we have a comment
here. Oh, hi, Ashley. That's my cousin.
Some of my favorites were the Glowworm and Lightbright. Do you remember the Lightbright? I remember the Lightbright. I remember the Glowworm.
And Glowworm, but Ashley's older than us, so that was a little bit... That was like in between when I was a kid and before my kids were born. So it was like, I remember the commercials, but we didn't play with them. I think I remember her having that, but
I had a Lightbright.
I didn't have a Lightbright.
Vincent still sleeps for one right now.
Yeah.
Viewmaster.
He writes. I have a Viewmaster. It's upstairs. I thought I have a. You don't even know how many toys I have upstairs. I think I'm gonna do like my own separate little video that I'm gonna shoot for y'all just on my phone, and I'm gonna show you some of the toys that I have from like 1975 and like kid toys. Yeah, I'm gonna show off some of those later, but I have lots of toys to show off.
So I had the Star Wars. I had He-Man. I was big into He-Man.
Yeah.
Like big time into He-Man. Super big.
I collected all the He-Man. I had the whole everything.
Yeah.
Everything, and it took me a while to get everything because
Dentist too?
Not the current ones.
No.
The old ones.
The real ones.
A real
ones.
He-Man.
The only ones that took me a while to get was Eternia. Took me forever to get because it wasn't available in Australia. It was only in the US, so I had to import that. And I was lucky because I had a friend from Italy. They had a couple of He-Man giant figures that the guy brought over as a kid, and I went, I'll buy them off you. And I had the whole set, and then I went, got the whole set, and then got rid of them all.
I remember I got the set with the He-Man shield and the sword. The big one. That was like it was the coolest thing.
Yeah, we actually did have the Battle Cat and some of the other stuff. So those were cool toys to play with.
From Thundercats.
No, his cat that he saw.
Oh, Cringer. Yeah. Battle Cat. Yeah.
The first series, the original He-Man was good. The Space He-Man. No, let's not talk.
No, and they show on the show how it derails.
And it's an interesting thing how, as a kid, I thought that the cartoon came before the toys, but the toys came before the cartoon.
Yep.
And I didn't realize that.
Yeah, same. I was surprised when we watched the show. I was like, wait a minute.
Because there wasn't
anything.
Prince Adam
in
the collection until later because they didn't make a Prince Adam. Prince Adam wasn't a thing until they made the cartoon. So that was
It's really interesting to watch that show to find how kind of evil toy designers really are and how they're really looking at like psychology and how to like turn the market in their favor, and it's really interesting to see how they do all that stuff. And that's why I like to hear your stories because you talk about like people collecting and going and
The toy industry is actually really cutthroat. If you go back and you look at some of the older brands and you look where some of them come from, like now we have these big toy companies, Mattel and Hasbro, but if you go back and look at some of them, you see stuff like Tyco Remote Control. Tyco was their own company at one stage, and they owned Viewmaster. They owned Viewmaster, and all these little companies kept on being swallowed up by these bigger companies, and the companies just kept getting bigger and bigger. And there has been for a while that Mattel and Hasbro were going to merge, or Mattel and Lego were going to merge, and it's like, that's kind of crazy.
But from what we saw on the documentary, it looks like Lego is going to keep to itself. Like, they've thought about it a few times, and then they're like, no, we're doing better than you could with our licensing.
Well,
so
Lego during the late 2000s just made
some really bad choices.
Bad choices.
Well, it shows you, too, because it's like a lot of these are like a father and the company goes to a son, and then one of the sons does okay, and then it goes to another son or a grandson, and they are not very good at it. And they're like, all that work, you're going to ruin it.
you would think, oh, it's Lego. And you would think it's... Back when you're a kid, you don't think about where things come from. And you don't think that, oh, this isn't an actual American toy.
Right. You don't realize that it's not from here in the U.S. And I have the, like, U.S. fake version. They were my dad's. They're called American Bricks.
Yeah, American Bricks or Tyco Super Bricks.
Yeah.
That's when the patent ran out. And everybody started doing bricks.
These were from the 1950s, so I have them. And they're not great. They don't, like, lock together. You can stack them on each other, and so they won't fall over because they have them, but they don't snap like the Lego does. It doesn't snap together.
Well, originally, Legos didn't snap together.
Yeah.
They were just like that, to where you just kind of like...
You could just put them together.
Put them together.
And it came with metal roofing and all kinds of little different windows and stuff like that. So I thought the Barbie one was interesting, too. It was interesting to find out that her kids' names were Barbie and Ken. I was like, what? But I didn't have Barbie, so I brought somebody else who I did have. I don't know what I did with her portfolio. Oh, here it is. This is Darcy. She is taller than Barbie, and she was a model. And she came with a portfolio that she took on her modeling jobs. And it had different magazine covers to show her different looks. And so you took them out and you took them to the modeling gigs.
Say disco scene?
Disco scene.
Disco scene.
Disco scene.
That dates it. Yeah,
she was made in 1979, so I was like 6. I don't know why I didn't have Barbie. I wasn't very much of a girly girl, so I don't know why my parents thought that this one... I bet one of my aunts probably bought her for me. But here's the problem. Darcy is lovely. She is, and her hands are posable because she has to model and she has to, like, Vogue or whatever. I don't know. And her little arms bend and stuff. She's lovely. But she's taller than Barbie, and she doesn't look like Barbie. She has, like, underneath this, her clothes have gotten all wonky in age, but she's fairly proportionate for a doll. So when I would go take her to play with my friends, because she wasn't Barbie, she was hideous, so they renamed her Nanette, because I don't know why Nanette was an ugly girl's name, but she was the ugly girl. And then she couldn't have any boyfriends with Ken because she was taller than him, so she was a freak of nature. So then I had to bring my brother's dolls. But we had played with my brother's dolls.
Action figures.
Too hard. Okay, they're action figures.
Boy dolls.
So where did Buck Rogers go?
Call them action figures. Boys don't want to play with dolls.
I used to have the original Kiss.
Superman.
Superman. Look at him.
He's missing part of his leg and one of his hands.
Fix his arms up so he's not ambiguous.
And poor Buck Rogers is missing his legs.
And he's really tan.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was back in the 70s when we didn't know how to treat special needs people very well. So since Nanette was huge and ugly, she had to date the poor special needs guys. So she dated Buck Rogers, and then Clark was their friend, and then their son was Mork because he was missing the bottom part of his leg, and he had a prosthetic because we put one of these little doohickeys,
of course,
thingies.
All the Migos were held together with rubber bands, so
yeah,
that's why they fell to pieces.
And then Mork's head falls off, and then she's got to find it and fix him and help him be better. So this was my This was who I played with when I was growing up. And Murdoch, I don't know where Murdoch is. Oh yeah, Murdoch from the A-Team. He came in later, and he was a little person. And then I had my special needs squad, and I was
Angel
nice
says
to them.
Superman.
Superman.
Oh,
He's the Clark Kent.
the $1 Million Man.
$6 Million Man.
You could look through his
$6
eyeball.
million, you look through the back of his head.
Yeah. And he used to have this stupid piece of rubber skin on his arm that would always perish or get ripped off within 30 seconds of having the toy.
You know what I always wanted? I always wanted a Stretch Armstrong. Did you have a Stretch Armstrong?
No, I never had a Stretch Armstrong.
I wanted one of those. Did you have one?
I didn't have the Stretch Armstrong. I had the Green Monster one.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted one.
Yes.
Did they stretch really, really far?
Like that.
I want to go buy me one because I think they've redone
And then I
them.
bit into them.
Yeah.
And then all that gel came out.
See, I always thought my brother got all the cooler toys because he maybe a couple of years younger than you guys. So like when I was like in my teenage years, that's when all the good toys came out: Transformers and G.I. Joe and He-Man and all that stuff. And I had Lego. Lego was cool. Space Lego is really cool.
The original Space Lego set is my favorite by far.
I have been recollecting that stuff like
Oh, really?
no tomorrow.
Because you could make the coolest looking stuff. Yeah, you could like see and make what they had in there, but you could make so many other things with it that were like your own thing, and your imagination just from that, it was just
Well, again, it was
awesome.
It was right after the moon landing and stuff, so space was really big.
Right. So that was
So
like
that
really
was
cool for everything.
That was the thing. Space and Star Wars, and it was all taking off. So
Hey,
that's why.
Giovanna's watching us from
Hey.
Japan. So how's it going?
Nice. We just had the regular wooden blocks that I liked so much because then we would build like, forts and stuff because we didn't have any of the other things. So we would build things with like wooden blocks and sticks and everything, and then the G.I. Joe would launch stuff at each other, and then we accidentally left some out in the sun, and hello, it's Texas, and it was like a summer like this. I think it got to like 112 degrees, and so some of them melted. So then they were the ones that had been like injured in the war, and then we would like get the figures and drag the melted ones, and then they would try to save them and stuff.
Oh, which one was the color changing G.I. Joe?
Was it the aquatic one?
No.
No.
It was. I
It
think
changed in the sun?
In the sun.
I had that T-shirt that changed.
It was. Oh gosh, I think it began with a Z or something.
I don't remember that one.
Zartan or.
Oh, that does sound right. I think
it doesn't sound right.
Yes, it does.
No.
Yes, it does. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna Google it.
Zartan and his sister, something or other. Two of the dreadnoughts. You're wrong.
So, Legos, Transformers. I remember the Transformer. I think I had a couple Transformers, but I had Optimus Prime. That was my first Transformer. And
Yeah,
that
Zartan.
That one was. Ha!
Zartan.
Is he a color changer though? Or did you just pull a name out? You just pulled a name out.
No, look.
Oh, look, he does! Look at that!
Zartan. I was right.
See? He
I
changed his
fooled
color.
the toy guy.
Nice, Zartan.
It's G.I. Joe. I know very little.
Yeah, I was
about
like, he didn't get to G.I. Joe.
He's G.I. Joe. He doesn't count.
Okay.
The only G.I. Joe I had was Jinx, and I used to female ninja.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I used to like those figures that had the little buttons on the back, and then you could move their.
Rub their bumps.
Oh.
Oh, what was that one?
I was like, mine had like they had those figures
It
that
was
had
like
little things on
this
the back, and their legs
boxy
would move.
robot that you would put like an 8-track tape in.
Rob?
What?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was Rob.
No, he's the one that picked up discs and moved them.
Yeah, he was the Nintendo thing.
The Nintendo thing.
Yeah.
To make the Nintendo thing less of a console and more of a educational tool.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Jovan says we found a few Gigantor toys in a collector's area here,
Nice.
also known as Tetsugen 28.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's what it was originally called.
That's what his original
Oh.
name is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Transformers were big in our household. We had the, because we're in the Asian area. We had the pre-Transformers. We got a lot of Transformers before they were called Transformers, the Micronauts lines, and some of those that came with like the little figures and stuff. So we had a lot of them before Transformers came out. So that was really cool.
I didn't have Transformers. I had Monchi-Cheese. They're from
You had more than one?
4. But I always thought it was weird because I made this the mom, but I don't think it was supposed to be the mom because she had like a pacifier that she would suck on.
They all had things that they could suck on their mouth. Now sing the song. Monchi-Chi, Monchi-Chi.
Oh, so soft and cuddly, they dance on their little feet. La, la, la.
Won't you come and play with me?
Yeah, so these were the bigger ones, but they had pacifiers, so they were the mommy and daddy, but I don't know why they had a pacifier. Or I pretended they were the mommy and daddy. And then you had the babies. And then I dressed them in weird things. There were Crayola bears, and so I took the Crayola bear sweaters because I tried to make him some pants and a shirt, and it didn't work out very well. So these are my Monchi-Cheese, and I just fixed them a few hours before the show because they were so old that the glue had come off, and so all their hair on the top falls. It's like a whole piece, and it falls all the way off. They look like they have a toupee in the wind, so, but I think they're cute. And they have little feet, see? Little feet, little feet. I don't know, I was
They actually have places like doll hospitals that can go through and actually fix some of this stuff.
I
mean, if you so wanted to choose to do that.
Yeah, I kind of like them, like with all their little quirks and scars, and you know, they've just kind of been loved to death and
played with.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I did is like none of the toys that I had were ever in the box because I never thought about collecting them, and I thought about playing with them.
Well, before Toy Story was a movie, like I believed the whole Toy Story thing was happening. Like I was absolutely positively sure that when I went to school, even though my mom was a stay-at-home mom, you would think she would notice this, but I was positive that the toys like played and had a nice lovely life during the day while I was at school. I would leave them snacks sometimes. I would leave them stuff to play with so they wouldn't be bored. I'd put out crayons and coloring books for them. I know. I don't know. I loved my toys. I think because all the kids were always so mean to me, the toys were like a place where I could escape and use my imagination. And in the cartoons, like in the 70s in the cartoons, like everybody was friends and everybody loved everybody and it was nice and huggy and like nobody in G.I. Joe died. Like they shot at each other, but nobody died. And so, I don't know, I think in Imagination Land everything was nice.
Yeah.
So I liked it there.
It all ended in the Transformers movie. They just killed everybody.
I cried. And they killed Optimus really early, too. You're like, oh, wow.
You should go from a television cartoon where they couldn't hit anything and every now and again somebody get injured and they always fix them to go into full-on war and killing everybody.
Yeah, it was...
But then we wouldn't have gotten Rodimus Prime.
Nobody likes Rodimus Prime.
Nobody liked him.
Like, we wanted Optimus. Nobody liked him. Oh, I had Donnie and Marie dolls, too. They're down
Oh,
there.
Ashley
Poor
says
Donnie.
it's called 2XL. The toy robot from 1978.
2XL.
2XL.
Oh, I never had that.
Yeah, you used to plug it in. You could, like, ask it questions, I think, or something like that.
And it would answer its pre.
I remember Teddy Ruxpin. He was the first creepy Alexa. No.
Oh, he was it.
He would read you stories and stuff. He was cute.
And you'd always try to put in a rock tape or something, and his mouth would never move.
Yeah.
Because it had a little track of data on the actual tape, and well, you'd be so disappointed. You'd want him to sing, and he wouldn't.
You're like, do it!
But it's interesting, back in 1978, the kind of technology that they had in toys that wasn't really out in, like, for people to use, like, out there. Like, most people weren't messing with computers back then, but
There wasn't.
toys were high-tech.
Yes, there was.
Why is that?
From what we've seen for the documentary, it just seemed like the toy business was just super competitive and they just didn't have any choice. They had to, you know, when you have to progress forward, you just kind of do, you know? You just kind of figure it out and make it happen. So I think that's what it was, you know? They always had to one-up each other. They always had to think of something slightly better, slightly bigger, you know, so... I don't know. Like, even when you
They had
look
to
at...
take it from, like, pulling the string
Yeah.
to doing something. I guess that's where we got the card things that play stuff when you open them from toys.
Well, even when I look at stuff from when I was, like, tiny that I'm going to show on my other videos, like the little record player I had and stuff, you know, just for them to have thought about that, you have to think about, like, there were engineers that were working here in the toy industry, and, like, people were really coming up with...
And they had no computers to design it all. It all had to be designed, paper and pen and...
They showed how on the... You guys should really watch the show on Netflix, but they showed... Remember how they showed with the Transformers and they made them out of wood?
Yeah, they made it all out of wood and put it all together.
That was crazy. I was like, really? They made all this stuff out of wood first? Like, we don't think about everything that was behind the scenes and went into it. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about, like, 2 years of R&D before it even hits the shelves. And then if somebody scoops you. So, it's
and
amazing.
how the Transformers are rebranded from other companies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of other companies.
You're like, and that's where we get, like, the weird stuff, like the, with Dinobots, right?
Yeah, the Dinobots were a separate line. Insecticons were a separate line. They grabbed, like, they had a whole heap of micro-chain stuff like Soundwave and Shockwave and Perceptor were all their own little line.
Yeah.
And a lot of them had the carryovers on them. Like the Dinobots, they had this, and the Insecticons, they have this little place that flips up that you could put a little silver guy that, if you had it, put it in. We had a couple of the pre-ones, so we had those things. So it was like,
nice.
This is cool.
Is it Soundwave that was the one that was the cassette and the
Cassette
tape came out
Yep.
and you could... Yeah, that one was cool. That one was super cool.
The boom. It was a boombox, right?
Oh, he was
Was it boombox?
He was a Walkman.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a
The
Walkman.
boombox was Blaster.
Blaster.
Yeah. I remember that.
He was red.
Yes.
Red and white and yellow.
Yeah.
Now we got to go back and see if we can find all those old cartoon shows and watch the cartoons.
And
'Cause
that's
was half of
another. And the
fun.
Transformers was another one that was a toy before it was an actual cartoon, which I thought it was the other way around. Which
Yeah.
you would think it would be the other way around, but it wasn't. It was the toys that came
Toys
first.
that came first.
I feel like nowadays, do you feel like nowadays it's a lot more that the cartoon or the show
nowadays
comes?
it relies on marketing and stuff. If a lot of the toy companies, when they go to release a toy, they'll go to their investors and say, this is what we've got, this is how cool it is, and they'll go, well, what television series and movie and media tie-in do you have? And if they say nothing, they go, oh, sorry,
Yeah,
not
skip
really
it.
interested. But what is interesting is a lot of the hot hit toys that just appear from nowhere don't have a lot of media and stuff around. They aren't a tie-in.
Really?
Like
Like Beanie Babies were like super huge.
Yeah,
Is that because they're a plush though?
no, that was because the person that was putting them out manipulated the market.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
But stuff like Zuzu Pets.
Oh, yeah?
And Hatchimals and Furbies and stuff like that. They just came out of nowhere and people were, oh my god, we must have this.
I remember when the Furby was a thing. It was a weird thing. Kind of
Yes,
creeped me
you
out.
skin them, they look even weirder.
Oh, no. That's terrible. That is terrifying.
Nick, do you remember the time when we went to Maker Faire, and then they were playing these whole bunch of Furbies? It was some like experimental music, where they were using Furbies as
Chip
musical
shooting them.
instruments.
Yeah.
Really weird. And they're why?
You're like, I have nightmares
and
now.
I sat through like 30 minutes of that. I was like,
I
Why did I
can't
sit
stop
there?
watching.
and I would just look at my buddy. I was like, what did we just watch? Everybody clapped at the end. I was like, okay, I'll clap too. But they were cool. I mean, they would speak Furbish
It was too
to
weird.
you.
So what nowadays is the most like marketable toy from like the 70s, 80s? Like if people are looking for it, like which thing do you think they're going to pay the most money for?
It depends. It really depends on what you're collecting and what you really want, because it's out there. It's just you've got to find what you love and go for it.
I just don't have any more space because I feel like I want to go get those strawberry shortcakes back. Like, really do. I had these gazebos that had hammocks in it, and they had little plates and stuff, and they had like a little place where they could sit and eat, and it had little chairs in it, and they had a little bicycle.
You're really making me feel bad because I even had Castle Grayskull.
Really?
At Castle Grayskull.
You're a terrible person. We did not have Castle Grayskull, but my daddy and my brother and I made it out of a box and some oatmeal containers and paper mache. So my daddy was an art teacher, so he knew how to do that stuff.
That's okay. You guys made me throw away a first edition Charizard, so whatever. That card was like $150.
I don't remember doing that.
I don't remember doing that. I think you've made that up.
Well, the good thing is the older toys are now a lot more collectible because everybody's mom threw them out.
Mr. E, do you like comics or anime? We do like comics and anime, but today we're talking about toys.
The producer is new to producing because this producer is over here.
And the other thing you'll notice with modern toys now, the cycle for a hot toy is much less. It'll be out for a little bit and then it'll be gone.
Yeah, because I remember when the Cabbage Patch were big, because that was something I did want, and they were gone. Like, if you weren't there beating people up in line to get one, you weren't getting one. And my parents were not those kind of people. They were like, sorry, you can just suck it up.
But Cabbage Patch Kids were, like, popular for a long amount of time.
That's what Stuart's saying. Like, back when we were kids, they were popular for a long time.
So even though you would get there and they'd always be gone,
well,
because they were always wanted until they weren't.
It's interesting that the toy companies are pushing their brands and expanding their brands and really making them go a lot further than what they probably should. I mean, Barbie should technically be gone. Because most toys, if you're looking from toys from like the 1800s, 99% of the toys that were popular then are now gone. Like the number one toy in the early 1900s was a toy train set. Now, where do you see a toy train set? Nowhere. So Barbie's looking long in the tooth. Transformers, another 10 years perhaps they should be going. G.I. Joe is definitely gone. They're trying to bring it back, but unless we have a global war or we get attacked by space aliens, they mightn't come back.
Well, you have a little one at home. We don't have little ones anymore, but I have my students, but I don't really see them playing like we used to play.
It's more electronics. They get an electronic device put in their hand at a very young age, and now they'll rather play with an electronic device rather than a toy.
See, and that's what I wonder. What is the future like for toys?
Yeah.
Because
I do have one question here. Is from Mr. E, or Mystery. It's a Riddler.
It's a good one.
Are Funko Pops still popular? Never understood the appeal of those.
Unfortunately,
they have. There's another documentary on Netflix about Funko, and they didn't actually even start with the pop line. No. It started before that with the bobbleheads. But oh my gosh, they just keep on picking up licenses, and they just put out Bob Ross, like Bob Ross's. I like the Funko Pops. You probably can't see them all in here, but I have a bunch.
It's interesting. The guy that originally was behind Funko was a patent and licensing lawyer, so he knew how to license things and get around things. And the whole reason behind why the Star Wars and why the Marvel are bobbleheads is because they don't have the rights to put out a PVC vinyl figure. So you put a spring in the head, it's a bobblehead now, even though if you take the spring out, it's exactly the same as all the other pops.
Oh, gotcha.
And
so
they've used some interesting language in putting out some of their stuff that says, well, such and such has the rights to action figures, and they go, no, well, this is a plush action figure or a segmented something or other.
I mean, isn't that interesting? Like, if you know how to get around it, you can get around it.
I mean, the guy behind Funko was brilliant, and he sold it all just recently.
Yeah, that was in the documentary, too.
So, He's a very, very smart man. And to think what Funko started out with, which was all just designer vinyl and like weird stuff that nobody was really into, because it was really funny, because when I used to do toy conventions and stuff, and there was like one guy in San Antonio that used to stock all the old Funko stuff, and he'd have a hard time selling it because it was like designer and weird stuff. And then all of a sudden the Pops came out, and then every man and their dog is stocking Pops.
And they were talking about how there was kind of like a core group of followers for it when it was the really weird, obscure bobbleheads, and so they're not super fond of the Pop explosion, because like now when you go to San Diego Comic-Con, they said you have to stand in line early in the morning to get a ticket, to stand in another line to get into the Pop booth, to get into the Funko booth, to try to get the exclusive Pop that you want. And so some of the people that they showed on the documentary, they had tried like for 3 days, finally got in, and by the time they got in, they were sold out.
And 99% of those are going to be flipped on eBay. Nobody's collecting them.
Right.
And then understanding the appeal, I think the appeal has to do more with nostalgia.
I think the reason Pops are popular is because they're the right size, meaning they don't take up too much space. They're cute looking, and they're the right retail value for anybody that wants to collect them. $10 is a brilliant price point, and they make them for like pennies.
Yeah. Well, and they said that they did a lot of research on the design, and it goes back to some of that Hello Kitty-esque, that kawaii, like that face shape, and where the eyes are, and how the chibi and how the eyes are. So they actually did a lot of research before they came out with the Pops. Nowadays they do it by computer. They're not whittling out of wood or anything, but they would like stretch it out and shrink it, and so that is some of the appeal too. It's that cuteness factor.
Yeah, it's the cuteness factor, and Pops have got everything. They've just got almost every license. So there's something to appeal to you. So you're going to pick up one, $10 here, $10 there, and several $100s later.
I mean, we have the set of the old Thundercats.
I don't think anybody can see them up there, but I have the Dark Crystal, but I just have the 2 Gelflings and Ulgra.
And we found the most of the Thundercats at Five Below for $5.
I had to get Lionel from somewhere else. They didn't have him. And then I really love the Animaniacs, so I have the Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. And again, they were already kind of cutesy, so I just kind of liked that added cutesy factor, and I didn't have any collectibles of those, so I thought, why not? And then we have a few of the Star Wars ones, and to be honest, most of the reason that we have the Star Wars ones that we have is because A, they either came in a loot crate, or B, we found them at Target or Walmart or something, and they were on sale for like $5 or whatever. So it kind of was like, oh, this is like I have this kind of figure, and I have action figures, and I have Micro Machines Star Wars, and I have this, and I have that. So I'd like to add a couple. Like I kind of just try to collect a little bit of each kind of thing to add to our collection. So I think that is, in a nutshell, kind of like, I don't know.
I see that a lot of the licensing is a lot of like older stuff that appeal to our demographic.
Yeah, and
it started that way.
And plus the licensing for old stuff is cheap, because who's going to put out a Golden Girls whatever?
Right. And now they have them.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering like when they jump the shark, right?
They've already jumped the shark.
Yeah.
Pops are Beanie Babies.
Beanie Babies definitely jumped the shark. Yeah. Although, you know what? The McDonald's Beanie Babies, I can't stop myself from collecting them.
Ashley says Barbie made a comeback because they moved it more towards real life body types and skin tones, but those didn't last that long, didn't they?
I actually did a marketing research on some of those with a whole heap of little girls, and it was very interesting. It wasn't the body type that they were looking at, it was more the blue-haired Barbie. Everybody loved that because it had blue hair. It didn't matter what body type it was on. I could stick that head on any Barbie and they want the blue one. It wasn't the body type, it was the blue hair.
It was something different.
Yeah.
I collected some of them because I've always been a big person, so I liked them, but I think the people that were collecting them, again, were adults. I don't think that the kids I just don't see the kids playing with anything. Like, I don't see them playing with toys. And I have
Like, I got the pregnant midge back in the day that I ended up giving to a friend of mine.
Yeah, he got it, like, as a joke, because it was so, like, out there and, like, really weird.
Yeah.
It was so weird. He was like, this thing is horrible, let's get it.
Let's get it. Because there was a big controversy over it.
Yeah. And so the person we gave it, I don't even remember who you gave it to, but
Gave it to Joseph.
that's right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was cool. I love talking about toys. We could probably talk about toys for like 2 hours, but we don't have 2 hours. We have no hours left. Or no minutes. But thanks for checking us out, Stuart. Thanks for coming to be in front of the camera this time.
Never going to happen again.
Yes, it is. It's going to happen once we figure out how to...
Yeah.
But we've been meaning to do it for a long time anyway, so I'm glad we did it, finally. But thanks for coming. If you haven't subscribed to us, please subscribe to us and click on the bell to get alerts for us when we go live.
Yep.
And when we go live again, because the first time didn't go through the right way.
And
My screen,
again,
yeah.
because technical difficulty.
Yeah.
We only came back once, so that's cool. But I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen, and that's Stuart, and Nick's producing.
Geek out, SA. See you later.